How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Kamala Harris dropping out of the race to try and become the Democratic Party's nominee in the 2020 presidential election. Now, there's a whole lot in quote unquote unpack here, as the cool kids would say, but first, I got to say, I'm not surprised at all. I saw it coming tens of thousands of miles away. I could have been Stevie Wonder and seen it coming thousands of miles away. I could have been LeVar Burton on Star Trek with no visor and seen it coming thousands of miles away. This was a clear and obvious conclusion to, quite frankly, a terrible campaign to try and become a nominee in 2020. Now, let's back up a little bit here to explain who Kamala Harris is and why she was even running and why the campaign eventually fell apart, burst into a ball of flames. Now, Kamala Harris is a senator from California. She was introduced in 2017 as one of the first Indian Americans to join the Senate by one creepy, sleepy, freaky Joe Biden. But that's a different story. And for now, I digress. So I guess she thought that she had a chance to become the president. And she may have hinged it on the fact that she has a racially ambiguous background. Now, like I said, she was introduced in 2017 as an Indian American, all right? But now she is a Black American. Now, I don't know how you get the claim to be a Black American when your mother is 100% East Indian, red dot from the Indian subcontinent, and your father is mixed Black and white, 50-50 Black and white at best. I'm not sure how you like 25% Black at best and claim to be Black, but I digress yet again. My point is that she identified as one thing and then became something else to try and become the president. But the campaign, in my humble opinion, wasn't really serious, and she didn't really have a shtick. Her whole shtick was about being Black and trying to talk about, coming from a single parent household, although that's not really the case. It is, but it isn't at the same time. Her whole campaign was based on a lie. And then beyond that, before you became the senator, Kamala Harris, you were a prosecutor in California. Okay, you had certain little policies like threatening to lock parents up if their children were delinquent from school. If they were truant, you locked their parents up. Now, she said nobody actually got locked up, but still, she threatened people with incarceration. There was a young man that came out and said that he was in jail for years and he was innocent. And Kamala Harris, while she was a prosecutor, was not trying to see any new evidence. I mean, there's all kind of things that were against Kamala Harris and her whole campaign and her background. Okay. The heritage thing, a lot of the ADOS folks got on about their heritage. You're not really Black American. You really are more Indian than anything. You're talking about criminal justice, but yet you're a prosecutor locking folks up on ticky-tack charges. And then how did you get into the Senate to begin with? What about this man by the name of Willie Brown, who was at one point the mayor of San Francisco? Okay. He got on television or on a radio interview that was aired on TV on Roland Martin's show and said that, yes, he did help her get into certain positions of power. Yes, they were in a relationship at one point while he was married. Oh, he came out there and said all that stuff. So you are engaging in some kind of quid pro quo with a man that is inappropriate to get your way to the top. You are not honest about your background, and you were basically the top cop in California, which goes against the Democratic Party's principles because they're anti-police. So you got all kind of strikes against you, and you don't really have any kind of juice. Nothing that's really going to move the needle at all. Okay, now she put out a statement, and in this statement was kind of a thinly veiled shot at Michael Bloomberg because he came into the race recently, and he has been polling ahead of her. She's right around 3% on average. If you look at the polls across the nation, right around 3 to 4% maybe. Bloomberg is right there neck and neck with her, and he just came into the fray. He hadn't done any kind of interviews before. He hadn't been on TV talking about becoming the president. Nothing that was really done like with Kamala Harris, okay? Because before Kamala Harris announced she was going to run, they had her on C-SPAN, Cory Booker as well. They had them on C-SPAN talking about just random mundane things, just the minutia of everyday life on Capitol Hill. But it was blown up to highlight her and Cory Booker as well. So they get some traction going into the campaign cycle. Unfortunately for Kamala and for Cory Booker, quite frankly, he could probably drop out next. It's not really worked out well for them. And here comes Bloomberg with his money, and he's able to poll as well as her. So she says, look, I'm not a billionaire. I can't fund my own campaign. Maybe she's saying that's the reason why her campaign has stalled, but that hadn't stopped Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas or Pete Buttigieg or even Andrew Yang or Tulsi Gabbard. Are they billionaires? Now, I think that Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas aren't necessarily poor people, but they're not billionaires. I mean, I think that maybe Pocahontas has the same kind of money as Kamala Harris, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe once you're in DC politics and Beltway for a while, you're able to amass a generous amount of money and yearly revenue based upon different things that you do, that you're involved with or whatever. You know, some DC quid pro quo, but I digress. My point is that most people in the race aren't billionaires, and they're polling very well. So you got to ask yourself, what is it about you that's not enough? Your whole shtick about being a black woman and being oppressed and racism is not really resonating with people, you know, not with black voters, because, again, you're not really black, not with those that want to engage in identity politics type stuff and say, oh, okay, she's black, I got to vote for her, because now you have Buttigieg. Buttigieg has taken that identity politics card and used it for himself. There's no more cards to play. He has them all in his hand. He got a full hand, and he's using it because he is a gay man married to a man. Now, about Buttigieg right quick, he has the same problem that Kamala Harris had, but for different reasons. He's not connecting with the black voters because he is gay and married to a man. You know, CNN talking about, oh, we don't know why he's not polling well with the blacks. Come on, man. We all know what's going on with that. A lot of black folks are religious, especially the older black folks that may vote in the primary. They're not with this whole LGBT stuff. They're just not really with it. Personally, if you want to be married to a man, that's your business. I'm not with that. That's not my life. I don't agree with that, but that's your business. It's okay. Do what you want as long as you got two consenting adults. Again, not my thing. I'm not into that, but you want to do it, knock yourself out. However, a lot of black folks that are going to vote in the primary are not with that. That's why he's not doing very well. And a lot of black folks that are going to vote in the primary can't really identify with Kamala Harris. They just can't. She's not black, grew up in Canada part of her life, and she comes across as phony, the top cop. A lot of black folks don't like police. There's nothing about her that's really extraordinary, because think about it like this. What does Joe Biden have? He's on stage. He doesn't know where he is, who he is, or whatever. But what does he have in his back pocket? He was Barack Obama's vice president for 2 terms, 8 years. So the black community is familiar with him. Therefore, he's leading all polls in the black community simply because of his proximity to Barack Obama. That's it. Kamala Harris did not have anything like that. No kind of edge. Pocahontas and Bernie Sanders are like Santa Claus, Mr. and Mrs. Claus. I'll give you free this. I'll give you free that. Same thing with Andrew Yang. They have a certain shtick that has allowed them to stay, being able to raise money and stay in the race. Tom Steyer, if he's still there, he has money. Bloomberg, money. Tulsi Gabbard, I'm anti-war, I'm anti-establishment, I'm going to change things. They all have a certain shtick that they are able to attract people with. Kamala Harris, her whole thing was, I'm a black woman. But like I said, Buttigieg took that identity politics race card and transformed it into the gay card. And in the game of oppression Olympics, it's a card game, the gay married card will trump the black woman card any day of the week. Also, there's an issue of her staff. Her staff were disgruntled. Many of them were disgruntled. They did not like how they were treated in the workplace of Kamala Harris's campaign. Now, I'm not quite sure if that is an indictment on Kamala Harris herself. I doubt she's actually there on a day-to-day basis running operations. It's probably up to the campaign chair or whoever is the boss at a particular point in time. It's probably up to them. She was losing folks, and they went to Bloomberg's campaign. It had to be pretty insulting, but it is what it is. I mean, you don't have a good staff. You're not running a good campaign. There's no actual path to victory. You have no stick that sets you apart from anybody else. So she'll go back to being the senator in California she'll preside over the impeachment trial if it goes that far, which it may or may not. It's going to be hilarious to see her fail in the impeachment trial because you got to have 20 senators that are Republican to basically defect away from the Republican Party or defect from Trump and convict him on nothing. A phone call is pretty innocent. So that won't happen. She'll fail there, and she will fail to try and get a Democratic presidential nomination in 2020. Hey, but it is what it is. Politics is a dirty game. You win some, you lose some. And right now, fortunately for the United States, unfortunately for Kamala Harris, you win some, you lose some. And today she lost some. And I think this trend will continue from here on out. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And that's pretty much all I got. What say you? Do you think that Kamala Harris and her campaign were doomed for quite a long time or from the very beginning? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Who else do you think is going to drop out next? Who's going to be the next guy? I'm thinking Cory Booker, because what does he have? I've not heard anything from him. If he were to come out and say, okay, I drop out, I'd be like, okay, good for you. About time. I think Tulsi Gabbard's going to drop out soon. Andrew Yang will drop out soon. The top 3 or 4 are going to be in order: Joe Biden, Pocahontas, Pete Buttigieg, and Bernie Sanders. That's going to be your top 4 right there. Who out of that are going to get the nomination? It's looking like Joe Biden, quite frankly, but it's hard to tell. You might see Buttigieg kind of surge up and overtake the whole crowd. And I think people like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker might be a little triggered about that. Amy Klobuchar as well, because they thought they had the minority card in the bag. Oh, I'm black, I'm a woman, all this, that, and the third. But here comes Buttigieg with that gay card that Trump saw. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.